everyone. Wednesday, March 9th, 12:57 p.m. Posted a couple of short screenshotted videos this morning of some interesting stuff and some motivational stuff. We could all use a little extra motivation and encouragement right now, I think. Anyway, I just came across something fascinating. I was talking about one of my last videos about the fifth epoch in the age of Satan, and I was curious as to know where Venerable Holzhauser came up with this, if it was something that was mystically given to him. And the answer I got from, again, this Bishop Williamson, who seems to know a lot about Venerable Holzhauser. He's got a lot of different videos and talks that he's given on him, is that it came from the letters to the seven churches in the book of the Apocalypse, or the book of Revelation. So the first chapter is the letters to the seven churches, and what he felt that he was divinely inspired to write about, Venerable Holzhauser, was that these correlate to the seven ages of the church, of which we are in the fifth. And this is the church at Sardis. And so the fifth age, the fifth epoch, really marks the decline of the church, corruption, corrupt clergy, hypocrisy, and apostasy. And so I want to read chapter 3 of the Apocalypse. I'm going to read from my old family Bible here. It's a pre-Vatican II Bible that I have. And so I want to read this, and you can just see for yourself how relevant it is to our times. And so I do believe that Venerable Holzhauser was divinely inspired to make that connection. So here it goes. This is chapter 3 of the Apocalypse. And to the angel of the church at Sardis write, "Thus says he who has the seven spirits of God in the seven stars, I know thy works. Thou hast the name of being alive, and thou art dead. Be watchful and strengthen the things that remain, but which were ready to die. For I do not find thy works complete before my God. Remember therefore what thou hast received and heard, and observe it and repent. Therefore, if thou wilt not watch, I will come upon thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know at what hour I shall come upon thee. But thou hast a few persons at Sardis who have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. He who overcomes shall be arrayed thus in white garments, and I will not blot his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." Wow, so a couple things I want to point out. I know thy works, thou hast the name of being alive, and thou art dead. And that is so incredibly clear. Just look at Joe Biden. I know I use him as an example all the time, but he is symbolic of the age we're living in. He has sold out the faith. He goes and receives communion and comes out and promotes abortion. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that. Justin Trudeau, the guy from France, Macron. I mean, just all these hypocritical people who has the name of being alive, where they profess to be practicing Catholics, but really they are dead. Nancy Pelosi. So the warning is, be watchful and strengthen the things that remain, but which were ready to die. So what does that mean? Our traditions. That's what that means. For I do not find thy works complete before my God. And I mean, right there, what works is he referring to? I would say the updating and modernization of the church. That's what I would say. Remember therefore what thou hast received and heard, and observe it and repent. So he's saying repent and go back to tradition of what we have, what has been handed down to us, instead of trying to change what has been handed down to us. Therefore, if you will not watch, so therefore, if you do not go back to repent and return to the ways which were passed down to us, I will come upon thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know at what hour I shall come upon thee. But and this is the good news, although it's not real. Basically Jesus is saying, I'm not going to condemn the whole age because it's totally corrupt, but there's a few persons who have not defiled their garments, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. He who overcomes, meaning he who overcomes the spirit of the age of the fifth epoch, shall be arrayed thus in white garments, and I will not blot his name out of the book of life. For I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. And I find it interesting because I'm going to post a link below to the talk by this Bishop Williamson. And I think it's only, he goes over the first 5 ages, but I just found it so interesting. I've just never heard anybody explain it before like this, and it makes so much sense, and it appears to be relevant to the times we are living, which means we can expect to see this brief age of peace, this brief triumph of the Immaculate Heart, as pointed out to the church at Philadelphia, in which everybody will acknowledge that the Catholic Church is the true Church of Christ. And then I'll go over that after I go over what the 6th epoch is. And then lastly, the Antichrist in the final judgment, the return of Christ in the final judgment. So I just found that interesting. Hope you did too. Have a blessed day. Joan of Arc Media out.